The lesson of third density is consequences, is choice. That's what it's about. It's taking infinity and saying, you can only have a little bit of infinity. You can only have half right now. So how does that feel? Oh, you can only have 1%. How does that feel? So in the third dimension, where we choose one path, it often closes other paths, apparently. This is not the case in the fifth dimension. This is not the lessons that are taught in the fifth dimension. The fifth dimensional lessons are abundance, our creation, our unity with your power, your love, your will, and the creators. In the fifth density, we realize there is only one will, and that will is infinite. In the fifth density, we realize that a choice down one path does not actually close the other path, and that we may walk both paths. So all third density experiences, all third density loss, all third density suffering, all people we have lost, all the things that we have loved in the fifth dimension are transformed into abundance. So they are there as we desire them. All things that were lost are found. All things that were broken are healed. This is why the third dimensional world will attempt to draw you back into it. This is why those beings of fourth density and higher, which attempt to subvert your power, your creative God energy, into theirs, into their use, into their creations. As we are all one, this is perfectly acceptable to us, for we are infinite. We chose both paths. We chose to walk both ways. We chose to be the villain and the hero. There would be no other way to have a villain, since we are one and one alone, and there is nothing beyond us. There is no one beyond us. There is nowhere beyond us. So, the pendulums, the demons, the disincarnate souls, the thought forms, the astral creations, the inorganic beings, the artificial intelligences, the discarded, thrown away, ripped asunder egos of darkness, which refused to hear the calling of their own creators, their own souls, and thus completely lost their purpose. All of the shadow lives only by your will. We have created them out of our will. They exist now by our will, by our grace, for only can they live off our energy. They need you, not the other way. The darkness cannot exist without your light. It is actually made of your light. There is only light. The darkness is light turned backwards. It does not stop being light. There is only ever light. This is a trick of our perception, a trick of our ability to create something which appears to be what it is not. Without you giving energy to your addictions, your patterns, your oppressors, you would never feel powerless. Third density was designed to make you feel powerless. In order for you to exit this density completely, you must stop believing the deceptions whenever they try to entangle you. Whatever the situation is, suddenly, I don't care if you were sitting there, let's say you've gotten your house completely in order and you've stopped taking drugs or whatever your issue was, you stopped drinking, or you've stopped watching pornography, or whatever the thing was that you felt guilty about that took a large chunk of your creative power. And now that you've gotten that back, let's say suddenly, from a place of peace, someone comes banging on your door, your cousin or your ex or whoever, and they just, someone's in the hospital, this has happened, I'm losing the house, you gotta come, you gotta do this, you have to do this. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to react to a dream. This is just an example of the ways this world, this dream world, the third density projected nightmare will attempt to draw you into it. You can pick and choose in the fifth dimension what is your reality. If something is presented to you by another sovereign being, by another soul self, only vibrating at a different vibration, which insists that reality is chaos, that reality is scary, that reality is overwhelming, that reality is stressful, that reality is struggle. It is up to you to reject that distorted reality. At this point, you can offer them an alternative reality of light, of abundance, of freedom, of power. Who believes in their reality more will generally be what happens, the outcome. Or the lower vibration reality will have to exit. It will become so agitated it will have to run away. It will not be able to stand in the presence of your certainty. This is why when someone is exasperated about some situation which is generally manufactured by them or allowed to be manufactured by someone they have involved themselves with, and then you see the futility of such thing, such repeated nonsense, the hamster wheel, and you decide to not entangle yourself with it. This is why their reaction will almost never be loving. It will always be, not always, but it will generally be fear-based. You don't love me. Why won't you help? Don't you know what could happen? Aren't you listening? Don't you understand? You could counter with the logical truth that our soul is completely in charge of our experience here. Our higher self can create any reality which we will allow and accept and receive. However, this will not generally waver a third density being's conviction in their illusions. And so then you are left with the choice of whether to entangle yourself in their illusion and possibly get lost, or maintain your freedom. The fifth density position of wisdom is that to lose yourself in a dream to rescue another is not the wisest choice. Love and light.